Harihi Om. Gananam tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmana Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannodirissidasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajayirvajinivati Dhinamavitrayavatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Megha Devi Jushamanana Agahat Vishvachi Bhadra Sumanasyamana Tvaya Jushta Nudamana Duruktaan Brihadvadena Vidate Suriya Tvaya Jushta Rishadvavati Devi Tvaya Brahma Gatashri Yutattvaya Tvaya Jushta Chitram Vindate Asusano Jushasvatra Vinonamede Medha Mahindro Dadatu Medha Devi Saraswati Medha Me Ashvina Bhuvavadaktam Pushkarasraja Apsarasu Jaya Medha Gandharveshu Jayam Manaha Daivi Medha Saraswati Sama Medha Surabhirjataku Swaha Medha Surabhir Vishwarupa Hiranyavarna Jagati Jagamya Ujasvati Vayasa Pindamana Sama Medha Supratika Jushantam Mahi Medha Mahi Prajam Mahi Agnistejo Dadatu Mahi Medha Mahi Prajam Mahi Indriyam Dadatu Mahi Medha Mahi Prajam Mahi Suryo Rajo Dadatu Hamsa Hamsaya Vidmahe Paramahamsaya Dhimahi Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Yeah, they just ended.
Can I start?
I think Brother Sanjay will let you know.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my loving pranams at the feet of our beloved Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba, who is already present with us this afternoon. Dear Swami, we thank you for allowing all of us to meet virtually, and we pray that you bless the entire session with your divine love. Respected elders, aunties and uncles, brothers and sisters, and dear children, loving Sai Ram to all of you. My name is Ruby Duki, and I'm very pleased to be your MC for this afternoon session. At this time, I'm happy to introduce Brother Dr. Shivananda Raja, Vice President, SSIO Canada, for his welcome remarks.
Om Sri Sai Ram. My humble pranams to our dearest Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Welcome all of you, welcome everyone. I can't express my enough gratitude to our SSC students with the beautiful opening chants. As Bhagavan has said, an ideal education brings out the latent human values and develops character. The SSC program is definitely one of the hallmarks of Bhagavan's initiatives. On behalf of the Satya Sai International Organization of Canada, it's with tremendous pleasure that I welcome you to our SSC workshop this splendid afternoon. Hopefully a little bit more splendid on your end. It's a little gloomy and rainy on this end in Montreal. I hope you're all keeping healthy and safe with Swami's grace. We have a wonderful speaker today. I've known Dr. Srinivas Raghavan for quite some time when he used to drive to Northern California to join our young adult sons. Those were memorable days indeed. It's a privilege to have him with us this afternoon. I would like to invite Sister Priti Grover, our National Education Coordinator, to formally introduce Dr. Srinivas Raghavan. Thank you so much, Sai Ram.
My loving pranams at your divine lotus feet, dear Lord, compassionate Lord. Thank you for allowing your messenger to come all the way from San Diego, California, to be with us Canadians. To the Sai in all of you, Om Shri Sai Ram. I had the blessed opportunity to meet Brother Srinivas and his wife, Sister Vijaya, at the Guru's Training Workshop held in Chicago in August 2019, which Brother Srinivas conducted. They are both karma yogis totally committed to Bhagavan and his organization. They founded one of the 3 Sai centers in San Diego and conduct activities at their home with love and adoration for Bhagavan. Brother Srinivas has been a leader in the service of Sai in various capacities. A Sai Youth Rep, Southern California, Sai Spiritual Education teacher and president of the Sai Center. He has conducted workshops for SSC children, teaching human values and the importance of self-confidence. He has organized various community service projects focused on underprivileged children, not here, but overseas also. Brother Srinivas has also conducted and coordinated Sai leadership workshops for youth and adults. He served as the National Education Coordinator, SSIO USA, and as a member of the Sri Satya Sai World Foundation, has led the International SSC program. Most of all, his love for all the children is truly admirable. Children too reciprocate the same, and I was witness to that in my trip to Chicago. Currently, he's serving as the Chair, Enhanced Communications Task Force for SSIO International. Brother Srinivas, in being Sai's instrument, has composed many devotional songs, to name a few. Reminds me, my Lord, chant the name of God. Sai, you are my heart and soul. Sai, meri darish dikhao. And the list goes on, some of which are sung in many of the centers. On a professional level, Brother Srinivas received his master's and PhD degrees in computer science, Ohio State University, specializing in the study of human-computer experience. He also received an MBA degree, specializing in innovation management. Presently, he heads his own consulting firm, iYOUSE Inc., working with leading companies in wireless technology, healthcare, and education. We are indeed fortunate to have him here today with us. In his presentation today, he will be sharing Sai's message and his thoughts on the topic, Sai Spiritual Education, a transformation for gurus, parents, and children, followed by a brief question period. Brother Srinivas is one who fills his life with the divine fragrance of Sai's love. I welcome Brother Srinivas. Let us welcome him in our hearts and in our homes. Regarding the question and answer period, we have incorporated it within the presentation that Brother Srinivas will do. And we have provided a Google link of all the questions that we had received, and they are posted on the website underneath the video, and you can view them. And if you have any further comments or questions, please post them on the comment section of the YouTube. And we have an individual who will monitor those questions and provide them to Brother Srinivas. So I hand it over to you, dear Brother Srinivas.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible? Hello?
We can
you
hear
hear me?
you, but we cannot see you.
Okay, audio is good. Okay. Okay. Yes. I will turn that on. Okay. Sai Ram, Om Shri Sai Ram, and offering my most loving pranams and salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Lord. Offering my gratitude and appreciation to our Sathya Sai International Organization and its chairman, Dr. Narendranath Reddy, the members of the senior leadership team, all of the teachers and gurus and parents of here on this call, and to the loving guidance of our mentors and elders who may or may not be on this call. To all of you, I offer my loving gratitude and salutations. On this occasion of the time of Swami's birthday, or the anniversary of his birth, we will take a few moments to remember his message and teachings and see how it applies to all of us. In this session, what I'd like to do is to go through a few things, but I have a link for you in case you are interested in interacting or have questions. There is a question link, and I encourage you to log in and join the question session. Let me see if I can share my screen so you could see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the, some of you have put together questions that you would like to have addressed, and others may have questions about the questions or other questions that you'd like to talk about. So I encourage you to add things in here, mark what is relevant to the parents, gurus, and the children, so you can participate in this dialogue as opposed to a monologue. So with that, I'd like to begin. And the topic for today was given as transformation for gurus, parents, and children. Our first order of business, or what I'd like to look at, is what do these words mean? If you look at Sai, what does Sai mean? What does spiritual mean? What does education mean? And what is transformation? I encourage each of you to write your own understanding of what these words mean. Write it down for yourself so you have a baseline. So as we go through this conversation, you might want to change what you perceive as the meaning of all of these things. So In a discourse, Swami said SAI stands for service, adoration, and inspiration. And uh, he said that service first. And Swami said he lived his entire life in service of others. So much of emphasis on service, and it would be good for us to look at what does that mean. Right? Spiritual. What does spiritual mean? Is it religion? Is it being a missionary? Is it speaking about your faith? What does spiritual mean? Does it mean yoga, meditation? Is a spiritual life a life of life without anything to do with the world in the forest? What does education mean? Is a secular education different than what you would say spiritual education? If you are a parent or a teacher, you're probably motivated about education on behalf of the child. But if you're a child, would you be motivated just for your own education? Or would you be interested in educating your own parents? It's good for all of us to reflect on these. Finally, what is transformation? Well, usually the word transformation says something is changing to something else. So is transformation the same as becoming something else? Who is being transformed and what are they getting transformed to? Please take a moment, and if you have a pen and paper or if you have an online document, make a note of these words and write down your own version or understanding of how you see these words. Then we'll, the end, when we have some time to reflect and ask questions, we can see if you had some difference or change as you went through this dialogue. And in SSC as a program has been in place for over 50 years now, along with the original program, the Bal Vikas program from India. Swami started the Bal Vikas program with about 8 teachers, parents who were parents actually, more than teachers. And he said to them that, why don't you work with the children? And they said, well, Swami, we already have our children. That's plenty for us to handle. He said, no, I will teach you. I will come to Bangalore and spend time with you and teach you. I can come for 2 days if you like, but if it is too much for you, I'll come for 1 day. So Swami started the program as with his own workshop and his own training. What is that training and how is it different than what we are doing today? Is important for our teachers to understand. And when we say teacher versus guru, what is the difference? Please make a note and refer to these words. Keep like a, what do you call it, a bibliography, no, not bibliography, a list of the words and its meaning. It will help you as you go through the session. So, Sai Spiritual Relationship is a better representation of what we are doing with the students and parents and teachers. Each one of us may think we are playing the role of teacher or parent or student. However, if you look more carefully, a parent is often a teacher. Sometimes a teacher is a parent. in some cases, the children are parents more than the parents themselves. Oftentimes, a child may be your teacher, and a very good one at that. So these roles, these are just roles. They are not. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Let me know if the audio is working okay. If not, I can adjust it. So this Sai spiritual relationship is inspired by Swami, as you say, Sai Baba. But who is Sai? He clearly said that Sai is service, adoration, and inspiration. So what is this spiritual relationship as opposed to worldly relationship? So if you say service, adoration, inspiration, illumination is the basis of the relationship that we are having. We are centering it around Sai. Then what is the spirituality? What does that mean? And how is it different from secular? I noticed that many of your questions have come about how to live in this world and work with the teachings of Swami. So I'll give you a couple of frameworks here that you can use, and this will also help you reflect on your questions. My recommendation to you is to write your questions and reflect on them, for the answers will come to you more than trying to answer them. If you allow the answers to come to you, you will have a better experience and better opportunity to try and put it into practice in your life. The relationship that we're talking about, spiritual relationship, in our program, it is centered on the concept of God. So, Sai, spiritual can be replaced with God relationship, right? So, relationship centered around God, with SAI being service, adoration, and illumination. So, you serve God, you adore God, and you are illumined about God, by God. What does that mean? So this is the questions that we'll ask in this presentation today. And as we go through it, you can reflect on it for yourself. So keep a dictionary. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Keep a dictionary of all the words and what it means to you, and reflect on the meaning so that you can modify the meaning as you go on. Sometimes you may change the word to something else. The first thing in the relationship is faith. If you don't believe in God, it's very difficult to have a relationship, isn't it? So the first question is, do you have faith? And in our program, that's one of the first things that the program aims to instill in the child or in the parent or the teacher, is this faith in God, right? And in the SSC program is also about faith in Swami, for he represented for all of us that divine spirit. And so faith in Swami also. So is that it? Let's see. Faith is not sufficient. You need to be able to connect. Right? Today, the people connect, especially younger people, they connect using social media. So you connect with your friends or in some case, your not so good friends or enemies. Everyone you connect through social media. But how do you connect with this spirit or this Sai or God? That's a question that the program aims to address. So faith or belief. But it's not enough to just have faith, you need to connect. So music is a very good way to connect with that which you are trying to have a relationship. For if you talk a lot, it increases conversation, but it doesn't increase connection. Sai Ram, Sai Shan, Mere Sai Ram, Mere Sai, Mere Baba, Mere Prananath Ram. With music, you can express your connection and be able to reconnect easily, for it transcends the mind and goes to your heart. So one way of connecting is to use an instrument of connection, unlike social media, which is verbose, mostly wordy or picturesque. Music allows you to express. Communication is the next element in the relationship. How do you communicate with God? That's kind of strange. If you never see God, if you never hear God, how do you communicate? Maybe you just look at the picture and talk. Now, guess what? That's what I learned as a small child. My mother showed me a picture of Swami and said, "This is God, and whatever you need, you ask Him, and you talk to Him." So I believe my mother. I was very small. I still do. I believe my mother. And so till date, I do that. I talk to his picture, and guess what? He speaks back. There's many stories around that, but I'll continue. So you may find a different way to communicate with God, but find some way. Expressing love for God in a relationship, in spiritual, in this God relationship, you will be expressing your love for God. How do you do that? Then you need to spend time with God and be able to know what it is like to be living with God. Finally, how do you please God? So these are the things elements of the relationship that you can build. And if you're a teacher, it's good for you to see if that's what you are helping your students learn. Are you helping your students learn content, or are you helping them build this relationship? Right? And one of the good questions here is, what is God to you? So please make a note again of this word God and see what does it mean to you. It means different things to different people. As you can see in today's world, there's a lot of conflict. Does virus have a God? Does the coronavirus have a God? If it did, would it heed and please that God somehow? And guess what? Its concept of God may be different than yours, as it may be different than another community in your country or a society in the world. Everyone has different ideas of God. There's an interesting documentary series with a famous actor, Morgan Freeman, about who is God. I would encourage you to take a look and share it also with your older students. There's a lot of interesting questions that he poses and travels around the world and is able to bring a perspective about God. As you go through this relationship, there are 4 stages that I see happening. It's one's own relationship, as well as if you are working with somebody else, like a parent or a child or a teacher or anyone. The first one is awareness. So raising the awareness is the first step. Inspiring the children to deepen the foundational relationship with God. When I say children, it applies broadly to all of us. Experience this connection, not just intellectualize it. It's a relationship. It's an actual relationship. It's not an intellectual exercise that you feel happy thinking about or speaking about. And finally, sharing. These 4 steps can be used to reflect on the lessons that you are teaching as teachers, or the environment in which you have built in your home, the culture and the context that you have set up for your family or for your Sai Center. And you can see if these are represented, because this spiritual relationship will manifest itself in these 4 ways, which you can observe and learn how to develop. So this is the framework, and I'll go through in the presentation about these 4 elements of the learning framework, and then you can add more to it as you go along. Each section, we could have question answers as well. Am I doing time? Okay. If you have any questions, please add them to the document. And I think someone is going to let me know if there is some questions that I should answer. If not, I'll continue. Okay? Okay. No additional questions have come as yet. The awareness, spiritual awareness. What does spiritual awareness mean? Awareness is answering or seeking the answer to the question, who am I? Who am I? Am I this name that is given to me, Srinivas? Am I this body that I look and appear when I stand in front of a mirror I can see? Am I the person who I tell others I am? Is it somebody who they see? Because different people may see you as in their own way. Someone may see you as a kind person. Somebody may think that you are an angry person. Who are you? This is the question to be answered in the awareness. So, I wanted to share with you an example of this. The last year, I had the wonderful opportunity to work with students from the Sai School of Guatemala. And I got to visit them several times, along with others, a whole team of people who came and spent 2 weeks. This year, they spent 2 weeks. We started last year in 2019, around March, April, and then from then on, we used to meet with the students every week, once a week for an hour. And the fundamental question which they asked me, I had gone there before for an official visit to the Sai School, and then after that visit, they asked, we would like you to come back. So I said, sure, if you'd like me to come back, I can do that. I need an invitation. If you invite me, I'll come. So they said, yes, we'll invite you. So I said, for inviting me, you have, for any invitation, there are 3 parts. This is a team, actually. There are 3 parts to the invitation. First is, who are you? Who are you inviting? Who am I? And what are we going to do together? So we spent a year, believe it or not, answering these 3 questions in more detail. But when I asked them, who are you? They thought about it for about 5 minutes. And then at first they said, we are the students of the Sai School. I said, well, the Sai School already invited me, so that I'm done. I don't have to come back. They said, oh, no. They went away. I said, go and think about it. So they went away for another 5 minutes, and they came back quickly. And they said, yes, we've got it. So they said, we are todos unidos, all together as one. We are all the students together as one. And so we gave the name, they came up with the name Todos Unidos. And just a small quote for you from the law for the wolves. Now, this is the law of the jungle, as old and as true as the sky. And the wolf that shall keep it may prosper, but the wolf that shall break it must die. As the creeper that girdles the tree trunk, the law runneth forward and back. For the strength of the wolf is, for the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. These children spent a year together, todos unidos. Not only did they come together as one, but they brought together all the teachers and of their school, all the children of their school, the members of their community, the nearby community. They brought them in this identity of theirs, all together as one. Todos unidos. And I asked them, so who am I? And first they said, oh, you are Srinivas, and you should come and visit us. You came before. I said, well, do you think that's it? Am I not Todos Unidos? They thought about that and said, oh yes, you are Todos Unidos too. we are one. And if we are one, we cannot exclude anyone. So then I asked, what about the others who you are trying to invite? They said, yes, they are also Todos Unidos. So therefore, we finally came to the conclusion that this is the first Todos Unidos International Conference of Todos Unidos, and that was held in February of this year, where around 15 people from 6 different countries came, spent 2 weeks with the children, and had several programs every day of the week, including the weekends. So what did they want to do? They said, our mission is, one, to improve education, to learn English better. And also, the third thing they said was to believe in values, human values, believe in human values. That's significant what they said. So this is what we organized around, 3 things that they were interested in. Each of the participants, they actually were, let me show you if I can show this. These are their pictures. And this is the school. Very beautiful school. They have 2 sides. One side is this side, the other side is the secondary side. And they have their group, and each of them shared about what Todos Unidos means. Who am I? Right? That's what they spoke about, who they are. Very, very interesting to hear them share about who they are. Who am I? And what is Todos Unidos? Maybe another time we can get an opportunity to actually hear them. So this is the power of awakening. The power of asking such a question. This question is age-old. Who am I? So this is the objective of raising awareness of your truth, awareness of who you are. And you may do that in many ways, and you could do it in song too. Who is the Lord of the universe? He is the Lord of the self. Open your eyes and realize the Lord is residing within you. This song came about because I asked this question, who am I? And the answer came back. So I asked the question as, who is the Lord of the universe? And the answer came to me. It says, open your eyes and realize the Lord is residing within you. Dive deeper and deeper inside. Fill your heart with His love's pure. So the song continues to answer this question. The answer didn't come from my thinking about it. The answer came from within. Let's see. Yes. Inspiration. It is important that we are inspired. Hello? Can you still hear me? Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to take an example from the Ramayana to speak about inspiration. Rama Swami spoke extensively, and he wrote actually the beautiful Ramakatha Rasavahini is written in his own hand, and he wrote it as articles for the Sanatana Sarthi in those days. They're compiled into 2 volumes, Ramakatha Rasavahini. If you have not read it, I strongly encourage you to read it. It's a beautiful story. You may think that the Ramayana is a religious story. Actually, it's not. You may think it's a spiritual story. It's really, that's not true. Actually, it's a human story because Rama took the incarnation to come as a human being. For Ravana, the antagonist in the story, he was highly learned, and he had boons to be. He had the boon to win over anyone, except he forgot human being. He thought, what can a human being do to me? And therefore Rama came as a human being. So the Ramayana is actually a human story. And 2 years ago, when I was in the Satyasai School of Ribeirão Preto in Brazil, the children there, they put together a skit, a drama about Ramayana. And their storytelling of the Ramayana was quite different than what you might expect. Very beautifully done. They did it for the parents. They've never heard of the Ramayana before. One of the young teachers came from another city, spent 2 months with them, and slowly worked with them to explore this human story and discover the truths about it. Then they presented their experience. So Rama, this is about serving the Lord. Rama chose to honor his father's promise and went to the forest. Literally, the day his father, while writing on a paper, writing something, his hand shook. As soon as he saw his hand shaking, he decided that he has to give up his responsibility as the king and hand over the duties, and he selected Rama as the successor. So he told everyone that he needs to have a coronation for Rama literally the next morning. And they tried to dissuade him and say that, oh, it's going to take some time to bring everybody together for a coronation. He said, no, we need to do it right away. So the next morning, his father was forced to tell Saint Rama, his son, you have to go away to the forest right away, right now, immediately. Neither did Rama get excited about the prospect of being being a king, nor did he get dejected about going away from the forest. He chose to honor his father's promise and went away. Sita chose to follow Rama to the forest and later accept being sent away on exile by Rama. Lakshmana chose Rama and physically served him, giving up his parents, his twin brother, and his spouse, Urmila. Bharata, he constantly meditated on Rama and did not stay in the palace for 14 years. Upon return from the exile, when Bharata rushed to see Rama, he went ahead of the group. So as he rushed ahead and he got into the chariot with Rama and came, then the whole contingent from the city were coming towards Rama. But when they saw Rama and Bharata in the chariot, they could not tell them apart. They did not know who to garland because both Rama and Bharata looked exactly alike. Having meditated on his name constantly, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jagat Abhiram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jagat Abhiram, He Deena Bandhu Sai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sai Ram. So the power of the meditating on the Lord is so great that your appearance starts to change. That upon whom you focus your one-pointed attention, that so you manifest that. So the human attention and concentration is so powerful. Shatrughna was serving the devotee of the Lord. He was Bharata's shadow and he was Bharata's representative and ruled the kingdom on his behalf. He kept all the enemies away from the kingdom while both Rama and Bharata did not sit on the throne. So this is very difficult to do because he was serving as a proxy ruler. Well, Bharata was himself the proxy and Shatrughna was a proxy for even Bharata. So this is the of course, there are more characters in this human story. And we could go on about them. Very, very inspirational characters. And it's good to study the story not just as a religion or from the point of view of a devotee. Right? It's actually interesting to study the characters very carefully. For example, Maricha was the uncle of Ravana. He was ordered by Ravana to go and lead, he was a shapeshifter. He could change into any shape that he chooses. And he told him to transform into a deer and lead Rama away from Sita so that Ravana could go and abduct her. Well, Maricha knew that he's going to die because of this. So here's a strategic question. If you are going to die, what should you choose? Which way should you choose? In other words, if what is going to happen is already fixed, then what is the choice that you should make? Well, Maricha looked at the situation and said, I would either have to die at the hands of Ravana, because if I don't take this assignment, he's going to kill me. Or I take the assignment and Ravana's going to kill me. Either way, killing me is not it's going to happen. So he said, I would rather choose to go with the Lord because that would be a better thing for me. I would much rather serve him without offending Ravana, who has done good things for me. So how to choose? This is a wonderful example. How to discriminate, how to make a choice. So the lessons that you can learn from the story are innumerable, and it's worth for students, teachers, parents to look at it from a lesson things, that practical lessons that you can learn from exploring the story. Experience. The last two parts, and then we can. Are there any questions, Smith? Should I stop and answer questions or continue? Okay. Excellent. So the question, there are about 10 questions, and I've tried to frame this in such a way that you could go back and reflect on those questions. And we'll do that after I finish. Experience. So in the relationship, we went through awareness. Who am I? Inspiration. To be inspired about who you are. If you do discover who you are, shouldn't you know some examples of yourself, your identity? It's very inspiring to see those examples, not only to see what you are, but also how should you behave, or how do you act in accordance with that identity, right? Experience. So this is an example from Swami's own discourse, and I'll play this video for you. I have this summarized here on the right-hand side in the form of a figure, and as well as the text is given at the bottom. You'll see the captioning of the video, but my suggestion is you try to listen to what he's saying rather than look at the text. Even though he's speaking partly in Telugu, it's pretty easy for you to follow. Sometimes the text in the closed captioning may not accurately reflect what is being said. So please pay attention to the words rather than to the text.
Knowledge depending on top knowledge, second skill, third balance, fourth insight. Knowledge ni misuse cheste, kill cheste, prayojani balance tapodu. Knowledge ni skill chesinapudu balance correct ga vachestadi. Balance correct ga vachinapudu inside potundi, not outside. అంతర్దృష్టి భావించి అంతర్దృష్టి నుంచి గొప్ప అభివృద్ధిని పొందించారు. మనంతా ఊరికి నేర్చుకోవటం కాదు, మనంతా ప్రాక్టికల్ సైన్స్. ప్రాక్టికల్ కదా. ఎంత ప్రాక్టికల్గా మీరు చేస్తుంటారు స్వామి. నాకు దీంతో వచ్చేది ఏం లేదు, నాకేం అక్కర్లేదు. మీరు మంచి పని చేస్తున్నారంటే నాకు అదే సంతోషం. ఐ వాంట్ ఓన్లీ క్వాలిటీ.
I'll play it one more time so that in case you miss it, you can hear it again. It's a very short video clip.
ప్రతి మానవుడు నాలెడ్జ్ తండ్రి ఉంది. టాప్ నాలెడ్జ్, సెకండ్ స్కిల్, థర్డ్ బ్యాలెన్స్, ఫోర్త్ ఇన్సైట్. నాలెడ్జ్ని మిస్యూజ్ చేస్తే, కిల్ చేస్తే ప్రయోజనం, బ్యాలెన్స్ తప్పదు. నాలెడ్జ్ని స్కిల్ చేయండి. స్కిల్ చేసినప్పుడు బ్యాలెన్స్ కరెక్ట్గా వచ్చేస్తుంది. బ్యాలెన్స్ కరెక్ట్గా వచ్చినప్పుడు ఇన్సైడ్ పోతుంది, నాట్ అవుట్ సైడ్. అంతర్దృష్టి భావించి అంతర్దృష్టి నుంచి గొప్ప అభివృద్ధిని పొందించారు. మనంతా ఊరికి నేర్చుకోవటం కాదు, మనంతా ప్రాక్టికల్ సైన్స్. ప్రాక్టికల్ కదా. ఎంత ప్రాక్టికల్గా మీరు చేస్తుంటారు స్వామి. నాకు దీంతో వచ్చేది ఏం లేదు, నాకేం అక్కర్లేదు. మీరు మంచి పని చేస్తున్నారంటే నాకు అదే సంతోషం. ఐ వాంట్ ఓన్లీ క్వాలిటీ.
I want only practical science, quality. He said. In this, maybe later we can explore this in detail. Swami emphasized the development of skill. Knowledge that is not converted into skill becomes like Ravana's knowledge. It destroys and can become harmful to not only the person himself, but to others as well. So it is important for teachers and others to be able to understand the topic of skill building. Sharing. So a lot of what the children enjoy doing is to share. If you see small children, when they're very young, they want to, they stick with their mother mostly or their family. Then they slowly start asking questions. And once they ask questions, they want to get the answer quickly. They ask lots of questions. And then they start sharing, they start talking a lot. They want to tell you about their day, they want to tell you about what they saw, they want to tell you about what they think, they want to share a lot. The question is, what are you sharing? Where are you sharing from? And who is sharing? These are the questions we should ask. And I want to show you one example of this sharing. And I'll sing one song that is reflective of the share. This is a sharing by the SSC Group 3 and 4 students, one of our Sai centers in the United States.
Sairam, let me introduce you to the Group 3 and 4
Sairam, let me introduce you to the Group 3 and 4 students of the Fort Lauderdale Sai Center. We have Amrita, Kirtana, Bhavana, Sai Neha, and Shruti. This past month, we went deeper into understanding what Swami meant by the sentence, happiness is union with God. We took each word, we analyzed and understood what it meant to us, and then put it all together to compare what we understood and interpreted what Swami meant.
Happiness is union with God.
True happiness lies in union with God.
భగవంతునితో కూడినటువంటి హ్యాపీ.
A happiness when once you are in union with God.
కాబట్టి ఆ హ్యాపీ వచ్చినప్పుడు భగవంతుడు ఉన్నాడు.
When once you enjoy that happiness, you experience God.
భగవంతునికి ఏమాత్రం కూడా దుఃఖము, విచారము, కష్టము, జాలి, దయ అనేటువంటిది లేదు.
God is beyond all dualities like compassion or kindness or anger or whatever you say.
నీవు ఏది చేసినా కూడా తదాస్తు 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 అన్నీ మంచి కోసమే అని ఆశీర్వదిస్తుంటాడు.
Whatever you do, God goes on blessing every one of your effort.
కనుక ఇలాంటి భగవతత్వాన్ని చక్కగా గుర్తిస్తే మనకు దుఃఖమే ఉండదు.
When once you understand the nature of God, you will never be grief-stricken.
ఏదో ఒక మంచిని అందించుకునే నిమిత్తమై భగవంతుడు మనకు ఈ కష్టమును అనుభవింపచేస్తున్నాడు.
You are suffering today because God has an intention to make you happy later.
కనుక హ్యాపీ లేకుండా దుఃఖము, దుఃఖం లేకుండా హ్యాపీ మనకు జరగదు.
You cannot get happiness without facing difficulties, and they're bound to happen in our life.
So to me, happiness means people being together, and then union is like the earth together, since all people are in union. And then happiness in union with God, to me, is Swami watching over the earth with all the people in union in the earth.
Hi Ram, I'm Amrita Nayak and I'm in group 3. For me, happiness is spending time with family and friends, being productive, and dancing. For me, union with God is surrendering all my worries to Swami. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sairam, I'm Bhavna. Happiness is union with God. Let's break it down. First, what is happiness? To me, happiness is being in a state of mind where we all want to be. For example, I like eating pizza and chocolate, listening to music, and spending time with my family. That is what makes me happy. Swami is happy when we help people practice human values, have good morals, and practice Swami's teachings. Next up, union with God. This is to be one with something or someone. When I think of union, I think of someone merging with Swami, or someone being in peace and in complete devotion to Swami. So, now, we've broken down what happiness is union with God. Let's build it back up. What does it all mean together? Well, it is the bliss that one achieves from the time spent in being one with the powerful force. I picture myself having a peaceful picnic in the garden, listening to my favorite music with my family, and maybe eating some chocolate, which brings me joy, and this is the state when I feel the connection with God. You first experience happiness, then you experience God.
Happiness is being loved and loving, feeling peaceful, and serving others. Union is coming together and is a strength. Happiness is loving and serving others, which is a union with God.
Swami says happiness is union with God, and to understand this, I first thought, what usually makes me happy? I listed a few things like watching TV, reading a good book, talking to friends, and then asked myself, what is union with God? I view it as keeping God in your mind at all times in everything that you do. So I think for me, happiness is union with God means thinking of God, especially when doing something you enjoy. I also translated the quote in my own words to not feeling sadness or sorrow after dedicating your life to the all-knowing force who is everywhere. The importance of the word is that Swami didn't say can be or because of, he said is, that happiness is equivalent to union with God, so they're one and the same.
Sairam. So this is the process. If you follow the process, we went through all of the steps. I can share. I'll share, and we have a little bit of time to do a question answer, or probably a reflection on your questions. And before that, I can speak about what this means to me personally. So building a spiritual relationship. For example, my faith in Swami came from my childhood and all of those who influenced, in particular, my mother, my father, my great-grandmother, an amazing person who was an exemplar of service. My grandmother too, my sister, brother, everybody in my small world as a child. It was mostly the family, and later on, some friends and so on. My sister taught me to sing bhajans as a small child, and my mother encouraged me throughout my life that will give you a connection to God. And I can say that is true today. Sai, you are my heart and soul. You are my path and my goal. You make my life whole and complete. You give your love to me. Born in this world, in the name of Sai. Hold on to him if you care. He is in one. He is in all. You can see him in everything. So I learned to share the experience that I had in interaction and communication with God. To me, Swami, my mother told Swami is God. She pointed the picture. That's all I knew since childhood. So whenever I would go to a temple or a place of worship, I studied in a Catholic school, so I used to go to church and visit temples. I visited mosques and other places of worship. But I always would see or look for what I knew God to be. However, I didn't know that you can actually go and visit him in Puttaparthi, so that came much later. In fact, after my college years. And prior to going, I sent him a cassette recording of this song, Sai, You Are My Heart and Soul, and also a song for wishing him a happy birthday. So that way I got to share with him, and later on many experiences about sharing. Swami has been my inspiration and the one who pushed to become aware of this truth through this question: who am I? Who am I? Who am I? So these things that I shared here are exactly what I have used to develop this spiritual relationship. So if you have questions, we can talk about them, and maybe I'll have Sunitresh to moderate the question and answer session so that we can go through that. Okay. Yes, we can do that. I can end the presentation so that we can. Okay. Is that better? Okay. You can choose the question that you. Okay. I see. Let's look at the questions. Okay. So some of your questions I believe these are questions from teachers, the gurus, and that also represent the views of the parents. I wonder how these questions reflect the perspective of the children. So I'm going to read each of these questions and then have you. There's somebody commenting. Anonymous cormorant. Okay, somebody's looking at it. The world of work is demanding, and it is necessary to prioritize its demand to sustain a livelihood. That's a statement or a comment, I believe. Is that correct? Now, here's the question. How do we keep balance in such an economically driven society? So there's a lot of comments in this question, and their assertions or comments, which I'll call them comments, right? And when somebody is making comments, then you listen to them because it's coming from their perspective. So whoever wrote this question sees the world of work is demanding. It may not be the case for some others. Somebody else may see the world of work is joyful, is enjoyable, It may be someone sees it as threatening, right? Somebody may see it as easy. You see, so just to keep in mind that when you ask a question, as with any questions, you're going to see, I'll break it down and show you that part of it is what that person's perspective is coming from their perspective. Okay? So for this person, the world of work is demanding, and it's necessary to prioritize its demands to sustain a livelihood. See, Swami said that birds and bees, the animals, they don't have any, they don't go and earn a livelihood. They seem to be surviving without having to go and make money. So why is it that he asks, human beings alone are ones who want to do this, right? So actually with the Todos Unidos program, we had this question, okay? So we did a festival around this question. So everybody is actually in a costume. So you can be a human, like myself, a human, and you could be an animal, any kind of animal. These are other humans, doctor and so on. Here's some animals, you can see. These are animals. Or you could come to this conference as a jungle. Let's see if there's a jungle. Jungle. Is there a jungle? Jungle. No, maybe I'll find it. So everybody who came to this festival came in costume, and the objective, the central theme of this is the animals are asking God, why is it that these humans are getting a special attention? Because they're not practicing any of these things that you're talking about. In fact, the animals are the ones doing it. The dog is loyal, the elephant is patient, and so on. And these humans are running rampant. Why do you give them a special place? And why do you say that they're at the top of the pyramid, right? Human beings have a special place in the order of creation. So that's what the question is. And there's a sage who came here to arbitrate this debate. So at the end there was a debate, and then the sage came to arbitrate the debate. So that's the program. And you see, this is the question here, sustain a livelihood. So the animals are really asking, why are you running after these things? So how do we keep balance? You remember in our slide here, Swami spoke about it. Balance. If you convert knowledge to skill, skill leads you to balance. So I think if you study this more carefully, the question is, what skill should I build? How to convert knowledge into skill? And how does skill lead you to balance? That is probably the topic for the teachers and students to work out. How do you do this in a practical way? Okay, next question. In Ontario schools, where religion or divinity is not placed at the core of education or knowledge, what place does... so this question is actually a comment. If you read this, Satya Sai Baba's teachings is about religion and divinity. How does this... Then the question is, so the question should be, is Satya Sai Baba's teachings a religion? Is it a Sai religion? If so, is there a Sai Catholics, and then are there Sai Protestants and Sai Mormons and so on? Right? It would be worthwhile for you to go and explore that question before you ask the question of what place does this have since you have an assumption that Sai teachings is religion or divinity, then you can answer this. You can look to seek the answer to this question. Is God divinity? Is God mean religion? Interesting. If you look at the history of the human species, what some of the people thought of God was rain. Rain was God because rain gave food. Rain brought nourishment to the land. Land gave nourishment to the people, and therefore the rain was considered as God. So if you go carefully and look at these words, you'll be better able to examine what does this actually mean. In a world full of options, what should be a priority in our lives? Well, you look at what your options are and choose one of them. Is that what you should do? So from Swami, the message was very clear. He said here, I wrote it here. SAI, what is his priority? You could ask, right? That's a good question to ask instead of asking what is our priority. What was his priority? He said service, 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 service. Service, 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 service. He constantly repeated. And in fact, the translator was going to say adoration, inspiration, service. He said, no, service first, service first. So his priority, service. What is your priority? You can choose. How can we acknowledge the realities and stresses of life without scarring our children? It's an interesting question. So again, this is assuming that if you expose the children to what is you think is a reality and stress of life, they may only be your stresses, not the children's stresses. But if you do expose them, then they may get scarred. So these are all subject to your perspective. Be careful when you ask a question from your perspective that other people may not see it from the same perspective that you are asking. So really the question should be, is life stressful? And if so, why? Who is stressed out? And are they stressed for some reason? Do they understand the reason? How are you reacting to this stress? What is real in life and what is not real? If you read Swami's messages carefully, you will see what he says is real is not what you think is real. And in fact, everything that we see is not real. Therefore, then what is real? If you really look at what is real, it will not stress you out. So the point of this exercise is to examine these questions from what perspective are you looking at it. Therefore, all of these words are coming from you because of that perspective that you choose to look at it from. If you have a different perspective, the whole world changes. It has become difficult to keep things as they were in previous generations. What would you consider a healthy parent-child relationship in today's world? Actually, interestingly, the olden days parent-child relationship was probably the same as today. It's just different variations of the same theme. And here I can tell you there are 4 things to consider. And let me write them down here. Parent takes care of child. This is number 1. 2. Child takes care of parent. Small. I hope you can see the screen. Number 3, parent and child do their own thing without interfering with each other. Okay. 4, parent walks alongside with the child, or child and parent. Parent and child walk together. Alongside, side by side, and experience together. You know, if you look over history, mostly parents want to take care of child. They don't allow the child to take care of the parent until maybe they're old and incapacitated, and then child has to take care of the parent. The child is able to take care of parent only when parent is old. Well, lo and behold, if you never gave the child the opportunity to take care of you, how would the child know how to do that when you are old? Obviously, they don't, and therefore they're unable to do so. And then the parent gets upset. I've taken care of you all my life, and you needed to take care of me when you were old, when I'm old, but you're doing nothing. And so they get into difficulty. So, point number 2 should be encouraged from the beginning. I have 10 minutes more. Okay. Very good. We'll go through as many questions as we can. Parent and child do their own thing without interfering with each other. The best example of this is grandparents. Grandmother busy doing her own thing, child busy doing their own thing. When child needs something, child comes to grandmother and says, Grandma, can you make me something to eat? And grandma, yes, of course, what else would you like? Oh, I can tell you a story. Or the child says, nah, maybe later. That's fine, you go do whatever you want. So grandmother doesn't mess with or the grandparent doesn't mess with the child when they're doing their own thing. They have something to do of their own, some prayers or whatever it is that they want to do. They're not helicoptering the children. Parent and child walk together side by side and experience together. Oh, very difficult for parents to just walk with the child, see what is happening, not to give them advice, not to correct them, not to change and transform them, fix them so that they wouldn't be the way that they think they shouldn't be, and so just to be able to walk together with them. If you look over history, these 4 types of relationship, parent-child relationship, you will see them. A healthy relationship would obviously have all 4 at the appropriate time for the appropriate things. I hope that helps. In this age of information, how do we continue to keep Swami's teachings relevant and relatable, especially for families who have never seen the Lord physically? Yes. And so this actually, the question here is about the power of association. I don't think I have enough time to go into this. Maybe next time we'll talk about it. This is the power of association, belonging. This is very easy to see once you understand belonging. What do you see the future of SSIO organization with our children? How does one pass on the faith that guided our life? So in the SSIO organization, the international organization is working, the international leadership team and all of the organization officers are working very hard to build a global organization, an international organization that has the diversity, inclusive of people from around the world, and it offers a unique opportunity for those who wish to be a part of it and to be guided by this network of people who bring their perspectives, especially from Swami's teachings. So that organization, as Swami said, it will evolve and continue to grow. And for those, especially the children, there are many opportunities. In fact, the international organization, let me tell you one, there's what is called the Sai Shine, is a program that's part of the international organization. And they have in a corner in the website, satisai.org, where they have a children's corner for having the students express and share their perspective. Please, if you get a chance, take a look at that. It's on. If you get a chance, you can go there and look. And so there's a lot of emphasis on the children, not only of the Sai organization children, but also children in the Satyasai schools, in the community. There are many, many programs that are being conducted. I'm sure so is also the case in Canada. The parents, I think we have a few minutes. Are we done? So let me know if I have before 5 minutes so that I can continue. The parents are ardent devotees of Swami and send their children to SSE. This is a good one. When the children turn into late teens, they do not follow the teachings. Oh, wow. I see. So obviously, somebody who has written this question must have a litmus test that says you can follow, that you can detect, like the coronavirus. You do a test and you can detect the presence of coronavirus or not. It took them a while to figure that out. So obviously, somebody who's written this question has such a test to test whether someone is following the teachings of Swami or not in real life situation. They must be having such a test. If you have such a test, please use it on yourself first before applying to others. And if you do have such a test, you might want to see whether your test is valid and is able to detect all of these teachings in real life situations before we answer this question. So this is for another time we can look at this, because this is a good question. All of these are good questions. Where does one find balance between assimilating the Canadian North American culture but also putting so here the perception that you are bringing to this question is that there is a difference between the practice of Swami's teachings and the Canadian North American culture. Is it true? Is the North American culture different than Swami's teachings? I wonder. Again, it's good for you to examine before you make this assumption to find the balance, because maybe there is no difference. Maybe what you think, the Canadian North American culture, is not really different than what Swami says. Please examine carefully. As gurus, how can we ensure that our lessons are leaving an impact on students? For example, they may attend class and actively participate. How can we ensure that they are truly grasping the material, putting into practice? Yes, this one will require more detailed session, probably with the teachers alone. How can we help youth realize their technology addiction? How can we as parents help them on the right path? I see. Good question. As parents, how do we help our children realize that technology? Yes, technology is a popular subject. I don't know how many of you are in the technical field, and therefore you have to, I would suggest you look at this word addiction And what does that mean? Don't look at technology. Look more at addiction. See what you are addicted to. Maybe we are addicted to the world, and some are addicted to technology. Maybe we are addicted to anger, right? Examine the word addiction and it will probably help. Yes. So I know I am out of time. It's 4:30, so I'll hand it back over to the organizers. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with all of you. I pray to Swami to bless each and every one of you, the children especially, and the parents and teachers most of all. For you carry a huge responsibility to an undertaking which is worthy and most beneficial to each one, because in the process of teaching you learn more. So you're more a student than a teacher. You're more a student than you're a parent. And hopefully parents can be childlike, children can be teacher-like, and teachers can be parent-like. Sai Ram, everyone. Thank you.
We thank you, Brother Srinivas, for your enriching talk and for incorporating our questions by providing us with practical and important tips that will surely help to strengthen the triple partnership between parents, children, and gurus. The 5 key elements and learnings you've elaborated on this afternoon did actually answer our questions. We thank you once again, brother. I will now invite Sister Priti Mathur, President of the SSIO Canada, to say a few words.
With love and reverence, I offer my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our dear Lord, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram, thanks to Swami for this blessed opportunity to bring us all together. And so on behalf of SSIO Canada, I offer my gratitude to our dear Swami. Dear Brother Srinivas, we are so fortunate and feel so uplifted and inspired by your presence and are grateful for this opportunity to participate in this truly enlightening Guru Parents session with you today. You have shared many, many valuable learnings for all the participants, and we are really grateful and feel totally blessed. So thank you once again for being here and being a part of the Canadian Guru Parent team and group. I would now like to request Sister Bariya Jha, the Assistant National Coordinator, to do the vote of thanks. Thank you once again. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Sister Priti. Thank you, Sister Priti. We have now reached the end of the session, and I have the great pleasure to invite Sister Bariya, our Assistant National Education Coordinator, for her vote of thanks, which will be followed by the chanting of the Universal Prayer, Samasta Loka. As I hand off to Sister Bariya, I thank you all once again for your presence and participation. Sai Ram.
My humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dear Sai family, let's have a round of applause for Brother Dr. Srinivas. Dear Brother Srinivas, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your love for Bhagwan and his SSC program with us. On behalf of SSIO Canada and all the attendees, please accept our heartfelt gratitude. Dr. Raghavan, your session was very inspiring and informative. Your ideas and personal experiences were refreshing. I'm sure the audience could relate to the examples and analogies you gave. Brothers and sisters, I hope we all are taking home some valuable insights from this session. I really like the way Brother Srinivas explained the 5 elements to build our relationship with God, which are faith in God and connecting with God, communicating with God, expressing love to God, living and spending time with God, and pleasing God. On a personal note, I would like to take this opportunity to compliment you for your composition of heart-stirring bhajans such as Remind Me, My Lord, and Sai, You Are My Heart and Soul. They are among my favorite bhajans, and I'm sure many people share this sentiment. We look forward to more sessions, hopefully in person. As we close, I also extend our thanks to the young adults, Sanjay Sankat and Sai Sumitra Vora, for their behind-the-scenes technical support. In addition, thanks to Sister Preeti Mathur, President, and Brother Professor Siva Nataraja, Vice President, SSIO Canada, for their support and guidance. We will now chant the universal prayer, Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. As we chant this prayer, let us gratify Bhagwan and ask him to protect all beings in all the world. I wish you all a safe and a happy future. Thank you, and Jai Sai Ram. Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साईं बाबा जी की जय।